What's up, sports bettors? So, seeing some good bets out there, figured I'd just do a quick live stream, try to find some plays. So, I'm going to share my screen, get everything pulled up, and hopefully, we can find some good bets. So, I'll share my screen very quickly, and then we can go ahead and we can get into it. And I'll include my email as well. So, any questions you have, if I don't answer them on the stream or if I forget to, you can feel free to email me. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get into it. So I'm currently in California. Different locations have different sports books. I've explained this before, but if you're in, New York, you probably have access to Caesars, FanDuel, DraftKings, right? And the whole premise of, sports betting in general is all these books have different lines from one another. So, you kind of never know which book is going to have value on a given day. Today I've already, hit a few plays on parlay play. So here you can see parlay play. I've already hit a few plays on here. I've had some plays on no house advantage. I give these out on Twitter, a lot of them. So you can see we have 5 picks to win 6,000 here. So it just kind of depends. So let's just go ahead. Let's kind of see what's out there right now. So no house advantage, and we'll kind of explain how these platforms work as well. So Fliff's a sports book. It's technically, viewed in the eyes of the law as a sweepstakes company. So long story short, this platform is available in California, Texas, right? The big states, whereas you don't have access to FanDuel, DraftKings, anything like that if you're in California. So you're kind of restricted. You don't have that. But, you do have which you can see right here. It looks like this play just got even better. So Bruce Brown, you can see sportsbooks have moved his odds. So FanDuel used to have his odds at plus 106 for under 9.5 points. They've ripped it all the way down to minus 122. So you can kind of follow the line movements by just, clicking on an odd. But you can see DraftKings has moved his under from plus 105 to minus 105, now all the way down at minus 135. So clearly action's coming on Bruce Brown's under. So Fliff, it's not a sports book that has a desktop version. So I'm going to have to bet it on my phone. But this is pretty just rational sports betting. You can see bet online's making the under more favored. So clearly action's coming in on the under. I mean, lines can move for any reason, right? Maybe sharp bettors, maybe a syndicate. They all started to hammer the under 9.5 points for Bruce Brown, right? So if all the action's coming in on the under, sportsbooks are going to make his under more favored, right? But you can see Fliff, because all these sports books set lines independently, all these other bookmakers have ripped odds lower on Bruce Brown, saying his under is more favored. Fliff is still offering plus 100, right? So we're kind of just day trading the sports books. This isn't really handicapping. I'm not betting with my gut. I mean, I've explained this in other videos. Like most sports bettors bet with their gut. That's what's common, right? People watch sports and then they think they can outsmart the market, outsmart the sports books. But that doesn't work, right? Because if that did work, Prize Picks wouldn't be in business. All these platforms wouldn't be in business, right? The way you make money sports betting is by following the data. So I'm going to lock this play in. I'll also share my bet tracker. So I use a verified bet tracker. It's from a company called Pickett. So Pickett Sports. So I'll share my bet tracker there in the chat, which is just essentially a place you can see all my plays that are open for a given day. So sometimes there's more bets on Fliff. Sometimes there's more bets on Prize Picks. It just kind of depends which book is screwing up, which book is offering value on a given day. But the first play I'm on Fliff is Brown under 9.5 points. Only sportsbook offering this play at plus money. You can see all these sportsbooks have started to rip the odds on his under. Now the under is pretty heavily favored. It's arbitrage, right? Like you can literally get plus money on the over on DraftKings. You can get plus money on the under on Fliff. So huge line discrepancy here. This is the first play I'm locking in. And let me just go ahead and I'll share my bet tracker, which again, you'll be able to kind of see all my plays there. What's up, guys? What's up, guys? So, they added NHA to Pickett. So I guess I'm wrong. But Pickett's a verified bet tracker. So basically the way the platform works is, you can add in, you can sync your sportsbook accounts, right? So if you use Fliff, you can sync your sportsbook account to Pickett. And all Pickett does is it just shows you your profit and loss by year, by sportsbook, by sport. I mean, you can do all sorts of different analysis. And of course, like, tracking your bets is obviously important because, you got to know your results. If you're like, it's sports betting 101 is there's like two things. One is line shop, have numerous sports books, follow the data, follow line movements, never know which book is going to have value on a given day. But if you want to fade Bruce Brown and you're betting his under at minus 135 on DraftKings, when another sports book is offering plus 100, 33% better odds, like literally 33% better odds on Fliff, then you're not going to stand a chance at making money sports betting in because you're getting ripped off, right? If you're not line shopping, if you're placing bets, it doesn't even matter if you don't have Fliff. Some people will be like, oh, DraftKings is the only book I use, so I'm going to tail this at minus 135. But you're getting, literally 30, like you're getting a horrible payout. You're getting a horrible price. I view it as you're getting ripped off, right? If you're an investor, you're a day trader or a sharp bettor, you're trying to make money, like these differences really matter. Minus 135 versus plus 100. Like if you take his under on DraftKings, you're betting 135 to win 100. Whereas on Fliff, you're betting 135 to win 135. So this is the first play I locked in. Again, you'll see it on my Pickett profile. Pickett, obviously not a company, I work for, but I really like the bet tracker. I like how it lets you break down your profit and loss by sportsbook, sport. I mean, it's just a good way to hold yourself accountable, see your profit and loss. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of start going through some of these plays. So you can see there's a lot of value on no house advantage. So no house advantage, we'll talk about it here in a sec, but basically what you want to place on this platform is you want to place 5 pick entries. So we'll kind of explain how this platform works in a sec, but let me just go ahead so I don't miss all the picks. Try to start adding some in. So my first play is going to be Jokic under 9.5 assists, right? Like using OddsJam, easy. Just the bet in bold and in green. And what you can also do is I'll just lower my max odds a bit. So I just see plays from this site, and then we can take Chris Taylor over half of a base. So I can go ahead and I can pull this up. So now we got to switch over to MLB, and then we want Taylor over, just following the data. And I'll sync this to Pickett. I'm actually curious to see what my profit and loss is. So this I kind of like. So now we're taking Murray over 6.5 assists. So this is kind of nice, right? We're taking Jokic's under 4 assists, and then we're taking Murray's over. There are 2 players on the same team, so they kind of like compete for assists, right? If Jokic has 20 assists or 15 assists, then Murray probably, didn't have the majority of the assists for the Nuggets. So taking an over and under together, kind of like it. Then we have Payne under 2.5 rebounds. So an NBA play, and some people would be like, oh, can't we get an all NBA pick or slip? And it's like, well, if the value's in baseball, I have more bets on baseball. I mean, I'm not going to watch the Dodgers Brewers game when we have Nuggets Suns and 76er Celtics on. But like, as a sharp bettor, we're trying to make money. We're trying to, follow. So we're following the data. So then you can see Jaylen Brown under 2.5 threes. So what I can do, and hopefully people use this platform. If not, sorry. But what you want to do is you want to take an insured entry. So you want to click this little insurance button, and I'll kind of explain why here in a sec. But basically, like the way these platforms work, No House Advantage, it's technically a fantasy site. It's not even technically a sports book. But the way these platforms work is like they don't change your payout based on the picks you select, right? So if I take over versus under, you're going to see this payout right here doesn't change. If you go 4 for 5, you get a 2.6x payout. You go 5 for 5, you get a 12x payout. Doesn't matter if I take overs, unders. It doesn't matter. I could remove this. I could add in, an NHL pick instead. And you're going to see the exact same payout for these 5 pick entries. So these are fixed payout platforms, right? So I want to take Brown under 2.5 threes, right? So this is your payout right here, right? So let me just make sure I line these up correctly, and then I'll try to lock it in. So Jokic is under, Taylor's over, the others under. Okay. So Brown under 2.5 threes, Payne under 2.5 rebounds, Murray over 6.5. Yep. Okay. So this is correct. And then I'm going to lock it in for $200. So this will be my first play on No House Advantage, or our first play in this live stream, I guess, is on No House Advantage. And hopefully, it loads here in a second. So here you can see my slip. I'm just showing you guys what I'm putting my own money on. And sometimes there's more value on Prize Picks. Sometimes, it's not on Prize Picks. Sometimes there's good promos. So Prize Picks has their little Taco Tuesday promo today, right? Where they lower player props. So you can see Philip, his line is down from 26.5 to 22.5 for this promo. So sometimes Underdog has pretty good promos that you want to take advantage of. Sometimes it's Prize Picks. Sometimes it's No House Advantage has good promos. But anyways, what I was going to say is because No House Advantage, right? Because this is a platform where they're not like changing your payout based on the picks you select. Any 5-pick entry, you're always getting plus 160 odds if you go 4 for 5, 2.6x payout, and you're getting a 12x payout, which is plus 1100 odds if you go 5 for 5. So if you go 4 for 5 and you bet $100, you're going to get back 260, but only 160 in profit, right? So you can see right here, payout is different than profit, right? So I'm betting 200 to win 2,400, but that's $2,200 a profit if this wins, right? I'm betting 200 to win 2.2K, $2,200 in profit. But $200 of the total payout is just my stake. But long story short, the really important thing to understand about these platforms like Parlay Play, like No House Advantage, is how they're trying to beat you, right? So the way these platforms work, No House Advantage, is again, they're fixed payout platforms. So basically, how they make money is they assume, most people don't have an advantage. So if you don't have an advantage, you're going to get 50% of your over-unders correct. You're going to get 50% incorrect. You're going to win 50, you're going to lose 50%. Assuming you have no advantage, right? So if you have no edge in the market, no advantage, you're only going to be able to get these over-unders correctly 50% of the time, and you're going to lose money on No House Advantage, right? Because basically, if you take their payouts, so if you take their payouts for these 5-pick insured entries, you have to win 53.227% of your player props to be profitable, right? So this is how they beat you. They assume you're not good enough, we're not good enough to be able to hit 53, 54, whatever, like above 50% of our player props. Even if you can get a slight advantage, win 52% of your picks, only lose 48, you're going to lose 14%. Your ROI is going to be negative 14%. So you need to find player props. This is Prize Picks. I apologize. So on NHA, you need to find player props that are winning over 53.22% of the time. So basically, all the EV tool does is it uses sportsbook odds, to show you player props that are winning over 53.22% of the time, right? So that's all there is to No House Advantage, to these fixed payout platforms. Is the way you make money is you just have to win a certain percentage of your picks, and on NHA it's 53.22%, right? So what the positive EV tool shows you is just play is winning over 53.22% of the time, and it does that using sportsbook odds, right? So you're going to see here, right, all the sports books. I mean, it's not just like you have one data point. I mean, there's all these sports books are data points, right? Jokic's line on DraftKings moved down from minus 135 to minus 140, now down to minus 145. But you're going to see all the books, right? They all have Jokic's under as the favored outcome, right? So that's basically exactly what you're looking for. Like, there's nothing more. People try to add in, so many reasons about how to make money on this platform, but the truth is it's pretty simple. If you can just win, get an advantage, and win over 53.22% of your picks on No House Advantage, you're going to make money long term. So OddsJam just shows you, spots where sports books have an under really heavily favored or an over. In this case, it's Jokic's under. All the books have his under heavily favored. His under is more likely, right? His under is the favored outcome, the juiced outcome. So this is a play that's winning over 53.22% of the time. So it's profitable in a No House Advantage entry. And what you can do too, so, you could take some different picks. So what you could do is be like, okay, well, I already played, one of these, but let's go ahead. Let's add in Lyles over 3.5 strikeouts. So we can add in Lyles, right? And then really it's just once you have an advantage, you're just trying to find a bunch of player props, right? You're just trying to find bets with an edge. There's no magic to sports betting. There's no perfect number of bets, to place per day. You're really just trying to find. So we want uh, Payne under 2.5 rebounds, right? You're just trying to find a bunch of player props that are winning, on NHA over 53.22% of the time. There's no magic to, how many plays should you put in per day? Well, if there's a lot of sports going on, if there's a lot of value, you may have a bunch of bets on NHA. I already have 3 plays so far on NHA. So then we want Murray's over, Jokic's under. So let's do Murray's over for assists. Jokic is under, right? Straight up, literally just following the data. Um, not betting with my gut ever. It doesn't work. It just quite simply does not work. I mean, my background is I was a trader, right? Being a trader is everyone assuming they can beat the market. They can beat you. They know which stocks are going to go up. And the truth is nobody can do it, right? That's why so the reason the sports books are in business is because most people bet with their gut. Everyone assumes they're smarter than the books, they're smarter than the market. But this would be the worst bet of all time, taking Jokic's over on no house advantage, because again, on no house advantage, you need to win 53.22% of your picks to be profitable in every data point. Every sports book is telling you, no. Jokic is a lot more likely to go under as opposed to over. So unless you think you're smarter than the sports books, they're, models, they have better data feeds than you. They're taking bets from around the market and moving lines, right? That's another thing people forget is sportsbook odds. It reflects, what the market believes is true. So what every sports bettor believes is true. If Jokic is over, if some really big syndicate and all the sharp bettors, if they all think, no, Jokic more likely to go over 9.5, is over 9.5, it should be favored. Well, they're all going to hammer, right, the play at plus money. If you think his over is more likely, you should be jumping on this plus 115 on DraftKings, right? Because you're betting 100 to win 115 in profit. So you're getting plus money. So if you actually, believe Jokic's over is going to be winning more often than his under, you would be rushing to hammer the plus 115. But the truth is, most people aren't confident enough. I mean, a lot of people will have opinions about sports so here we can see my second play. So all I did was no house advantage allows a maximum bet size of $200, at least for me. Maybe for you it's different. But, you can just replace one of the picks. So you can see here, I just took Brown, right? So I took this play on Jaylen Brown, and then I just replaced it with this play on Jordan Lyles, which has a slightly lower profit margin, but whatever. Just creating numerous slips. And some people don't like to do that. They don't like to have the same play in numerous entries. But I mean, this Jokic play is profitable, right? It's pretty simple. The Jokic play is good. You could include it in 1 slip, 2 slips, 3 slips, whatever, right? You could break it up, diversify a bit. But long story short, it's a profitable bet. So, you can include it in however many slips you want. But let's go ahead. Let's refresh. And anyone who has questions, about their account or anything like that, you can email me. Prize Picks is great. I already gave out a play on Prize Picks today, right here. So there's value on Prize Picks. It's just sometimes there's more value on no house advantage. And you can see right here, a lot of plays on no house advantage. So that's the platform I'm going to be betting on a bit. And then we can go ahead, take a look at this. So this looks incredible, right? Kevin Durant's line on FanDuel, his under 5.5 assists was plus 114 2 hours ago. I'm not sure if you can see that from the screen, but you can see they've ripped it all the way down to minus 168. Caesars has plummeted odds on Durant. His under 5.5 assists has moved from plus 112 to minus 135. So all the action's coming in on his under. And sometimes it's when lineups are announced, right? Like if, let's say for the Warriors game, I think the Warriors game is tomorrow. So let's say, for the Warriors game, Jordan Poole is going to be starting. Hopefully they don't start Jordan Poole if you're a Warriors fan. But if, when that news is announced, that affects all the other player props, right? That affects the total in the game, the money line. It affects player props for players on the Lakers. Whoever pool is going to be guarding, if the market thought a different person was going to start, right? So, I mean, the point is just like it affects player props for everything. It affects, the odds on a ton of bets. So as lineups change, as sharp action comes in, odds are constantly moving around, right? Like if Devin Booker gets injured tonight, I mean, obviously, hopefully he doesn't, but Kevin Durant's assist line will probably move higher. His points line will move higher, right? And that is baked into the market, right? Everything is reflected in the market, all public information. Like if Devin Booker gets injured, the money line's going to move. Everything's reflected in the odds, which is why, people who look at player props or I apologize, historical data, stuff like that, it's just not that useful because everything's baked into the market. If Kevin Durant scored 50 points in his last 5 games, that would be baked into the market. It's public information, right? So all this stuff is already baked into the market. So long story short, I want to take Kevin Durant under 5.5 assists, lock it in on Fliff. Again, you'll see it on my Pickett profile, which is my verified bet tracker, but Fliff doesn't have like a, web app. So we have Bruce Brown under 9.5 points, Kevin Durant under 5.5 assists. You can see a bunch of value on NHA. Here's one play on Underdog Fantasy. So what we can do is we can also just see if there's any other plays. So this tool is called the sportsbook screen. So what I can do is just take a look at, player rebounds plus assists. You can look at any market you want, but, the positive EV tool, it compares like when books are setting the line at the same level. So no house advantage, they have Jokic's line at 9.5 assists. And you're going to see, like, if you only have Prize Picks, you're missing out on a profitable bet. Prize Picks doesn't have Jokic's line at 9.5. We can actually see what they do have his line at. Probably 9. Well, I want to go to NBA. So you're going to see they have Jokic's line at 9, right? And 9 versus 9.5. So we got Jokic under 9.5. Like, these things seem like small differences, but the truth is like that's what sports betting is all about, right? You're not going to win every day. I have losing streaks, winning streaks on Underdog, go hot on certain platforms, cold on certain platforms. But the simple premise is if you have an edge, right, you're going to win long term. And sports betting, there's no such thing as locks. There's no such thing as bets that are guaranteed to win. It's really just about finding value in the market. We're getting Jokic's line at 9.5. We're able to get his under. And all these other fantasy sites that work in basically the same way, right? Underdog has his line at 9, right? So Underdog, Prize Picks have his line at 9. No House Advantage has his line at 9.5, right? So No House Advantage is, screwing up, right? They're giving us a profitable play because all these books set lines independently. All these books want to be unique. They sometimes screw up, and that's just kind of how it is. So what I do with this like sportsbook screen is you kind of try to see where are books setting the line at different levels. So there may be good plays, there may not be good plays, but like, what you're essentially looking for is just inefficiencies in the market. Like I'm especially looking for, okay, where are Prize Picks, Underdog, NHA? These are all fantasy platforms. They work in basically the same way. So where are they different from one another? So, for example, for RJ Barrett, all the books have his line at 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Underdog has his line at 7.5. Prize Picks has his line at 7.5. All the sports books do. There's no major discrepancies in the odds. Some sports books like DraftKings have the over very slightly favored. Some like FanDuel have the under slightly favored. There's no value in the market. So there's no play to make. So basically, sometimes there's a bunch of good plays. Sometimes you can find a lot of discrepancies where these platforms are setting the line at different levels. Other times there's just not that many plays. So what we can do is we can refresh the positive EV tool. You can see this play on Jamal Murray. It's getting even better, right? FanDuel keeps making Murray's over 2.5 threes. You can see they whip around odds like crazy. So his over, when sportsbooks first opened odds, player props. So it looks like sportsbooks first released player prop odds for Nuggets Suns game 5 on May 7th at 10 p.m. So that was probably right after game 4 ended. And you can see all that's happened for Murray threes is more and more action keeps coming in on it. It keeps getting more and more favored, right? So that seems like a pretty good play on Underdog Fantasy. So what you can do is we can open up this little fantasy optimizer tool. And here we go. So this actually seems pretty good. So now we have 3 picks on Underdog Fantasy. They tend to move pretty quickly when I place bets on this platform. So you may want to place this now. So I'm going to take Durant under 14.5 rebounds plus assists. Right. So I want this under. I want Murray's over 2.5 3-pointers. So again, if you want to tail this, lock it in now. So I'm going to lock it in here in a second. And then I want Brogdon, no steal. So 3 picks, Durant under 14.5 rebounds plus assists, Brogdon under half of a steal, Murray over 2.5 threes. So 3 picks on Underdog Fantasy, under, over, under. So I'm going to go ahead and max bet size allowed of $2,000. So we might as well go freaking balls to the wall, lock it in. So that's my first play on Underdog Fantasy. And again, we can check out Prize Picks. Where do they have Durant's rebound plus assist line? So Prize Picks also has this line at 14.5, so it's available on Prize Picks. What about Brogdon? So they also have this Brogdon steal line. And then what about Murray threes? So it looks like some of these plays are also available on Prize Picks. And you can see they don't have Jamal Murray threes. So long story short, follow in value in the market. You can see here, if we go back to the fantasy screen, so on Underdog, the numbers are slightly different. So I said earlier, the payouts will vary slightly from platform to platform. So as an example, if you look at, Underdog Fantasy or versus Prize Picks. So Prize Picks for these 3-pick entries, they only have a 5x payout, right? Any 3 picks you select their fixed payout platform, you get a 5x payout. If you look at Underdog Fantasy, any 3-pick entry we create, 1, 2, 3, they offer a 6x payout. So it's a bit higher, right? So obviously 5 versus 6x payout, betting 100 to win 500 versus 600, that's really important long term. But what you're going to see is on No House Advantage, on Underdog Fantasy, you have to win 55% of your picks, right? Just like we went through the math for NHA, I have a spreadsheet for Underdog Fantasy as well. But on Underdog, you have to win 55% of your player props to be profitable, right? So a slightly higher rate. So Underdog has slightly worse payouts, but again, all these books have different odds. We can see if, Brogdon steals, probably a lot of these plays aren't available on No House Advantage. So Brogdon, there is no player steals line. So this play is on No House Advantage, right? So No House Advantage versus Underdog. Underdog, you have to win a slightly higher percentage of your picks to be profitable. It's 55% approximately. And I have some strategy tutorial videos about it on YouTube. But if you look at the fantasy screen, all these picks are winning, roughly 56% of the time. So I can actually open up my little Underdog spreadsheet. And we can go ahead and we can go through the math. I think I'd agree with that. I think they track all the bets too, and they just auto move them. But so on Underdog, it's pretty simple. So the reason we play 3-pick entries. So if you look at my Underdog Fantasy account, you're gonna see again, just showing what I'm putting my money on is I either play 4-pick insured entries or 3 picks with no insurance. And the reason is it really matters on Underdog is I just said, so, if you just take the payouts on Underdog Fantasy, so Underdog Fantasy 6x payout for 3-pick entries. So on Underdog, you have to win 55.1% of your player props. So if you can get these over-unders correctly, 55.1% of the time or more, you're going to be profitable playing 3-pick entries, right? But actually, if you're playing 2-pick entries, you have to win 57.8% of your player props to be profitable. And again, these things really matter in terms of making money long-term. All my plays on Underdog Fantasy, one of the most profitable sports books that you'll see on my Pickett account where I've had the most success And one of the main reasons is they allow you to bet pretty big. Like a lot of sports books don't allow $2,000 bets. But what you're going to see here is on Underdog, right? Let's say you could win 57% of your over unders. Pretty good, right? If you can hit 57% of your over unders, just like Embiid over under 14.5 points, if you can get 57% of these right, you're still going to be losing money placing 2-pick entries, right? And I'm not doing anything complicated. I'm just like literally taking the payout for a 2-pick entry, which is a 3x payout, and backing out what percentage of your picks do you have to win to be profitable. So for 2-pick entries, it's really high. It's 57.8%. Whereas for 3-pick entries, it's 55.1%. So if you win 57% of your player props in a 3-pick entry, so if you can still hit 57% of your picks, your ROI is going to be positive 11%, right? Because you're winning above 55.1%, which is your break-even win rate. So long story short, if you're playing 2 picks on Underdog, you're doing yourself a huge disadvantage, because if you can win, and you got to remember, like, winning 57% of your picks is pretty good. You can get these over-unders correctly 57% of the time, only lose 43%, but you're still losing money if you take 2-pick entries. Whereas if you take 3-pick entries, you're going to be making money. Your ROI is going to be 11%. So you can see here on this little fantasy optimizer, right? So all OddsJam is doing is it scans, these tens of thousands of lines. Most of these plays aren't profitable, right? Underdog Fantasy, Prize Picks, all these platforms, they do a decent job at keeping their lines in check, right? But these aren't big companies, right? They screw up occasionally. They have a lot of player props to manage. Lines are moving, players are getting injured, lineups are changing. Like, they have to stay on top of everything. So occasionally they screw up, right? And on Underdog Fantasy, we want to pounce whenever we can find 3 player prop bets, 3 player props that are winning over 55.1% of the time. We want to hit them together because we found a profitable entry. And sometimes there's a lot of value on Underdog, sometimes there's not. So you can see here, if you say, like, okay, let's say on average, these 3 picks are winning 56% of the time. So this ROI on Underdog for a slip is probably roughly 5.36%, 5.4% profit margin on our Underdog Fantasy slip, right? And again, what's so powerful about sports betting is, like, your returns are daily. And it's literally the most important thing to understand in terms of making money sports betting, because it's why you can go broke very quickly. And it's why you can, make money sports betting, like actual amounts of money, even if you don't have a big bankroll, is your returns, right? Like, you're typically going to be betting on games that are today, right? So if you're a bad sports bettor, right, and your ROI on your bets is, let's say, negative 2%, over the course of a month, you're going to lose roughly 60% of the money you bet. Negative 2% ROI on your bets, you can't find an advantage, right? So negative 2%, 30 days in a month, negative 60% is going to be your ROI over the course of the month. Whereas if you have a 2% advantage, right, and you're betting whatever, $500 a day over the course of a month, that's 60% ROI. So that's what's really powerful, but also really scary about sports betting if you don't know what you're doing, right? Because you either make money or you lose money, and things compound very quickly, because it's not like, the stock market where it goes up a bit, it goes down a bit, but like over the course of the year, it's like up or down roughly 8% in probably 80% of years. So it's just kind of like one of those things where if you're a bad sports bettor, you lose a lot of money quickly, which is why, gambling problems, whatever, are a big deal. But if you have an edge and you know how to beat the sports books, you know how to find an edge, you can rack up money pretty quick because you're betting on games that are today. If you have a 2% profit margin on all your bets, 60% over the course of a month, which is why sports betting, is pretty powerful. So you can see some early bets for, there's some plays on Parlay Play. So Parlay Play, it's another one of these fixed payout platforms. And again, like, I always recommend get as many of them as you can, right? Why just have no house advantage? This play, DeAnthony Melton, over 2.5 rebounds, looks like great value. All the sports books have the over heavily favored on Parlay Play. you have to win 53.22% of your picks, just like no house advantage, to be profitable. And you can see right here, it's like, okay, all the sports books have this over favored. That's a great play to go with. But if you don't have parlay play, you're missing out on a profitable bet. So, like, when I started out sports betting, I got all the main accounts: BetMGM, Caesars, FanDuel. They all have bonuses. I mean, most of them have, sign up bonuses and stuff like that. Like, um, no idea. That's great to hear. But let me go ahead. Let me share my screen again. So if we take a look here, right, like all these books offer, bonuses. I tried signing up for this yesterday. Or 2 days ago, but I can't figure out how to deposit money in it. But like all these books have deposit bonuses. All these books, Prize Picks is running their, little promo, Taco Tuesday. All these books, basically give out free money, profitable bets, deposit matches, because they're all the same thing. I mean, all these platforms at the end of the day, they just like take bets and they all try to set their lines independently. So they all offer bonuses because, Hot Streak, they want you signing up for Hot Streak, not Prize Picks, but Prize Picks runs promos. So Hot Streak runs promos. All these books run these promos to try to incentivize you to sign up for their platform. So I've explained this before, and I have a video on YouTube about it. But if you signed up for every sports book in the US and did their little deposit match, there's like $18,000 of value. I mean, granted, you'd have to, go to Colorado. Colorado has different sports books than New York, has different sports books than California. But if you did all these bonuses, I mean, it's like the easiest way to start making money. Sports betting is just like doing these deposit bonuses, right? Prize Picks, Underdog, Fantasy have $100 deposit matches. You deposit 100, right? So you're putting in 100 to start. They give you $100 for free. You have $200 in your account. Easiest $100 you'll make in your life. So I hit these two plays on Fliff. We can see there's some value on parlay play, value on Jock Market. So Jock Market's another platform, kind of just like Prize Picks. Again, I'm sure there's profitable bets on FanDuel, DraftKings. I mean, I can select all sports books. 194 books on OddsJam. Cut is a social sports book. I haven't signed up for it yet, but some people seem like they're having success on it. You can see there's value on Fliff. There's value on, Tony Bet, a Canadian sports book. There's value on Stake, right? Drake sports book. So it's just Ballybet, a New York sports book. So you may have different books, right, available to you. Again, like never know which sports book is going to screw up in a given day. There's a profitable soccer bet on FanDuel, but currently I don't have access to FanDuel, so I'm not going to be able to place, this bet. Value on Ballybet, but Ballybet I think is only legal in a few states. It's not here in California, so I can't place this bet, even though it seems pretty good. So, as a sharp bettor, ideally you have a bunch of sportsbook accounts because that's kind of how you make money, right? All these books have promos. Prize Picks runs their super profitable Taco Tuesday every Tuesday. They have insured entries, stuff like that. Underdog Fantasy has promos. Like yesterday, they brought James's line down to half of a point. So if James scores 1+ point, it's going to win. So obviously this was going to cash. So you can kind of see like all these books have different promos. They're all really profitable. Like you could literally make tens of thousands of dollars just taking advantage of profitable promos on sports books. There are a lot of people who do that. They just, they won't bet on Prize Picks aside from the deposit match and then the profitable Taco Tuesdays, right? So some people do that and they have success with it. So we have no house advantage selected, FanDuel, Hot Streak we can add in. We can add in this Jock Market platform, Prize Picks, and then we can go and we can add in parlay play. 6 picks insured entry. So you can see the top plays currently on FanDuel. Look at FanDuel tends to like whip lines around very quickly. So FanDuel, you'll notice most sports books, they have like very calm line movements, right? Like Caesars has moved this from -137 to -121, right? They move the line slowly but surely. DraftKings has moved this line from -130 to -130. FanDuel is very whippy, right? Basically every bet, just like a little more demand comes in for a stock, price goes up. Some good news for the economy, price goes up a bit more. CEO, fraud discovery, price goes down. Like the market's always reacting to new information. Is FanDuel seems to have the most they move lines very quickly and pretty frequently. So great bets show up on FanDuel, but they also go away quicker, right? Books are always moving around lines. So you can see here, let's filter out FanDuel again, just because I can't bet on FanDuel right now. But you can see there's some profitable plays on, prize picks, flips, stuff like that. So we can check out this little NBA screen thing. The Odds Jam Sportsbook screen. And I'll go live before the game as well. Once more plays pop up, I know I've already hit some of these. We've already hit a lot of these. Chris Taylor, Lyles, whatever, on No House Advantage. So this play looks decent on Prize Picks. Over 6 rebounds for Horford. So Prize Picks has his line at 6. Again, Prize Picks works very similar. It's one of those fixed payout platforms. It's very similar to Underdog Fantasy, stuff like that. Underdog has Horford's line at 6.5 rebounds, right? Prize Picks is the only one with his line at 6. All the sports books have his line at 6.5. Seems like value. You'd want to take the over on Prize Picks, right? You'd want to take over 6. All books have his line at 6.5. On Prize Picks, they have his line at 6, right? We found an inefficiency in the market. For Melton, all books have his line at 2.5. This play was on Parlay Play. Where did Parlay Play go? So did it get filtered out? So I may have to select all. I'm not sure. But I can add it back in. But long story short, that seems like a decent play, at least on Prize Picks. So what we can do is see if there's any plays on Prize Picks out there once this gets loaded again. So we'd want to take Horford over 6. I already bet on this Taco Tuesday, gave it out on Twitter in this 6-pick entry. So I'm not sure if any of these plays are still available, but this is what I went with. If you want to pause it or whatever. So we can open up player rebounds. And then you just kind of, you look for discrepancies. Well, not sure why there's 2 Underdog fantasies. Well, this is the -122 and then the -137. So I'll hide this one. And then I'll refresh. And then we should be good to go. And we can see if there's any more plays on Prize Picks. So what we want to do is we want to take Horford rebounds over 6. Following the data. Doing what works. So that's the first play we'd want to go with for tonight. Horford over 6 rebounds, right? Literally the 3 other fantasy sites. I think there may be more on OddsJam, but they may be further down. But Underdog, Parlay Play, No House Advantage, all these platforms work very similar to Prize Picks. They're all saying, line should be at 6.5 for Horford. Prize Picks is at 6. It's like, Prize Picks is screwing up. We want to take the over. So we can keep looking through, but basically that's the way I use this tool, right? Tyrese Maxey, all books have his line at 3.5 rebounds, no value in the market. We don't want to touch it. And just kind of hunt for value. Sometimes there's more plays, sometimes there's not. Here we can see a difference between Prize Picks and Underdog. Early play for tomorrow. Draymond's line is 7.5 on Underdog, 7.5 on the sports books, 7 on Prize Picks. So seems like some value on Draymond Green rebounds as well as Al Horford. So those are 2 plays we could go with. So what we can do is we can go back here, and then we can go to Draymond Green. So early play for tomorrow, right? These 2 picks seem decent. 1 play for tonight, 1 for tomorrow. Who cares if the play's for tomorrow? It's the profitable play, right? So this is very much so just like an investor, you're hunting through the market. Most plays aren't profitable. Usually there's not big discrepancies. Usually Prize Picks and Underdog and No House Advantage have the line set at the same level. And there's no profitable bet. There's no value. You're just placing a bet with your gut at that point, and you're not going to make money. I've never bet with my gut on Underdog Fantasy. Almost $100,000 on this platform, which granted is only one of, the few sportsbook or the platforms like this. So this play looks really good on Underdog Fantasy. So what you're going to notice, this play looks Really good. Jaylen Brown's line, his assist line, is 4 on Underdog Fantasy. All of the sportsbooks, Prize Picks, NHA have his line at 3.5. Right? FanDuel has the same odds for the over and the under. So they used to have the under favored. So that's a big line discrepancy, 4 versus 3.5. And what I mean by that is what you can do, and this is kind of interesting. Yeah, let me look into it. So if we take a look at FanDuel, because a lot of people will be like, oh, 4 versus 3.5. It doesn't seem like that big of a difference. Who cares? 4 versus 3.5. But like that's a big jump. And what you can do is you can look at FanDuel. So FanDuel is one of the only sports books that offers these alternate lines. So we're taking, right? They have his line at 4 assists, right? They have his line at 4, right? So 4, all the sports books, again, have his line at 3.5. As you can kind of see right here, all the books have his line at 3.5, right? Prize Picks, NHA, they have his line at 3.5 as well. You can also get the under 4 on parlay play, but they're clearly asleep at the wheel, right? Because like 4 versus 3.5 is a big jump. And you can look at the sportsbook odds. So you can see for literally just one assist on FanDuel, which obviously has pretty good pricing models. They've invested $1 billion company. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in modeling out, 3.5 versus 4.5. 99% of sports bettors can't beat FanDuel long term. And what you're going to see is FanDuel, they have the under 4.5 at minus 270. The under 3.5 is at minus 114, right? So the under 4.5 is at minus 270. The under 3.5 is at minus 114. So the only difference between 3.5 and 4.5, right? So this is the line, and then this is the odds. The only difference between 3.5 and 4.5 is going to be if Brown has exactly 4 assists, right? If he has 4 assists, you're going to win under 4.5. You're not going to win under 3.5, right? And that's like a big part of the distribution, right? Like in probably 50% of games, Brown has 2, 3, 4, or 5 assists at least. So like 3.5 versus 4.5 is a big deal. So essentially the under 4.0 would just be the midpoint, right? So 270 plus 114 divided by 2. It would be roughly minus 192 odds. So like this, right? You would just take the midpoint because on Underdog, right, this is a push scenario. If he has exactly 4 assists, we're going to push. So it's the midpoint of under 4.5 and under 3.5 is 4.0, right? We're betting under 4.0. So you just take the midpoint of the odds for 3.5 and 4.5. So then what I can do is I can go back to this little fantasy optimizer thing. So let's pull it up. Go back to Underdog Fantasy. And we already bet this play on Durant, so it's not going to let me rebet it, but I can take Corbin under 4.5 Ks. So let me refresh here. Corbin under 4.5 strikeouts. Okay, let's refresh this again. And then you can see here, you can add in line differences. So this, it's new, but what we can do is go to NHL shots on goal. So, and we're going to take Gourdet under 2. And did they just lock Corbin again? Yeah. So you can see we were trying to bet him under 4.5, right? They just moved it down to 4. So they moved the line on us. But what you're going to notice is we can take Yanni Gourdet under 2 shots. So if you go here, what you're going to notice is, hey, sportsbooks, they have his line at 1.5. The over is very slightly favored. But what the fantasy screen does is, again, like these are massive jumps in the odds. Like you see how big it is for 3.5 versus 4.5 assists for Jaylen Brown. Like that's an 160-cent swing in the odds, minus 114, minus 270. So 1.5 versus 2.5 is a huge deal on the sports books, right? All books have his line at 1.5. The over slightly favored around minus 140, minus 135, minus 140. we're getting 2 on Underdog. So the line is too high on Underdog. We want to take the under. So this just kind of like uses, if you do the show line differences, I'm not saying always to use it, but it's kind of interesting. You can basically just play around with it. And sometimes there's good plays there. So what else could we go with? And we can keep checking. And maybe we can find something else. Durant under 14.5 rebounds plus assists. But anyways, just kind of interesting. So we have 2 plays. This play on Jaylen Brown definitely seems best. If you're looking for a play on Underdog, pretty clear value. So what we can do is we can also check out. So just kind of scan through. Maybe we can get lucky, find some discrepancies. Whatever. We can refresh this now and we can see, Patrick Corbin under 4.5 strikeouts. This plays on no house advantage. So no house advantage has better payouts than Underdog. So actually, you can bet this on no house advantage as well. You can bet this on parlay play. Here's a play on Prize Picks. Lines are moving, right? And then even more exciting, what's so fun about sports betting is there's always profitable bets, right? One day ends, sportsbooks start to post odds for the upcoming day, right? So you can see sportsbooks are already releasing MLB odds for Wednesday. Some profitable bets in the MLB. There's value all over parlay play right now, right? Like this little yellow logo. So if we wanted, we could put a slip together. Why don't we? And we can go ahead and we can do that. So what we can do is go here. And we can open up this as well. And then we can remove this. So Embiid, I already bet. I already used this. So parlay play, what's annoying about this platform is they have a lot of value. There's a lot of profitable bets on this platform, but they only allow you to bet $60 max per player per day, which isn't the end of the world. But so what we can do is we can take Melton over 3.5 rebounds. So just grabbing some of these picks from the fantasy screen. Let's refresh the EV tool. And some of these plays are available on, so we want Lyles over 3.5. And on parlay play, you want 6-pick entries. That's what's optimal. So in a 2-pick entry, right? In a 2-pick entry, if you're winning 57% of your picks on parlay play, your ROI, just like Underdog, is negative 2.53%. If you can win 57% of your picks in a 6-pick entry, your ROI is almost 40%, right? So it really, really matters. You're going to notice I'm always giving out 6-pick entries on parlay play, and it's not just some number I whipped out of my butt, right? It's like that's what's mathematically optimal. That's what makes you the most money. So that's what I'm going with. So Drew Rakinski, Harden under 8.5 assists. Okay. Melton over 2.5 rebounds. Okay. Ohtani over 7.5 Ks. Okay. So now we have 6 picks. So for Corbin, we wanted his under. For Drew Rakinski, simply following the data, right? This is one of those other fixed payout platforms, where they're not changing your payout based on you selecting overs or unders. So Rakinski, we want under. Corbin, we want under. Lyles, we want over. Under. Melton, we want over. Melton, we want over. Drew Rakinski, we want his under. Harden, we want his under. Lyles, we want his over. Harden, we want his under. Ohtani, we want his over. Right? So just trying to double check as well. Sometimes when you're moving quick, you don't want to do anything dumb. So $60. Here's your payouts on parlay play. I've went through the math, broke it down before. I have videos about this. If you search on YouTube, just like Odds Jam parlay play, there's videos, breaking down more about these platforms. But I'm going to go ahead and lock in that 6-pick entry. Corbin under 4.5 Ks. Drew Rakinski under 3.5. Melton over 2.5 rebounds. Harden under 8.5 assists. Lyles over 3.5 Ks. Ohtani over 7.5 Ks. Now we got another profitable play down, right? And again, there's no max amount of bets to place per day. If there's a lot of bets in the market, you should have more bets. It just kind of depends on, is there value in the market or is there not value in the market? Because you can think about it this way, is like, if your plays have an edge, so if your plays are profitable, um, you know, like, you want to have as many bets as possible. You're kind of like diversifying your portfolio of profitable bets, right? It's the same reason why, you probably don't put all your money or all your savings in, Bitcoin or something like that. Is like, it's good to diversify, right? To have some cash, to have some whatever. So it's same thing in sports betting. Like, if your bets have an edge, if your bets are profitable, you'll see this. In 2022, I placed 7,000 bets. I won 3,000. I lost roughly 4,000, but I'm generally betting at plus money. So I'm generally betting at, plus money. So win-loss record is not relevant to profit and loss. Win-loss record doesn't matter, right? If you want to win a lot of bets, well, here's a great bet that will probably win. Jaylen Brown over 1.5 assists. You're betting $12 to win back one in profit. So, like, this betting big favorites, it makes your win-loss record look good, but it doesn't make money, right? You can make money betting on underdogs, betting on favored teams. Doesn't matter. But you're going to notice, like, I have 4,000 bets lose. So as a sharp bettor, like, you don't just want to place one bet a day. You want as many bets as possible because you're diversifying your portfolio of, like, profitable bets. So we can see some NHL plays. There's some value on this hot streak platform, which, again, like, haven't been able to sign up for yet. Just haven't been able to figure out how to get money into it. I did sign up for it. Haven't been able to figure out how to get money into it. But anyways, let's see if we can find one last play on Underdog before kind of moving on. So looking for differences, just kind of discrepancies using the odd screen. Sometimes there's big ones. Sometimes there's not much out there. So what we can do is we can go to rebounds plus assists. And we can make sure, so this play is still available on Jaylen Brown, which is an incredible play. I mean, you can see, like, there's an 160-cent jump. This play would be around like minus 180 if you took the midpoint of 3.5 and 4.5. So pretty clear value there. Anyways, was just reading through. But let's see if we can find one more play on Underdog Fantasy to go with. If not, is what it is. So Durant, we already took his under 14.5, but that plays on Prize Picks too if you want to bet it on Prize Picks. And then we can just kind of scan, look for discrepancies. Sometimes there's great value, sometimes there's not much value. So we can check out points plus assists, whatever. Points plus assists. And hopefully find something good. And then we can go here. We can open up the show line differences again. See if there's anything that we like here. So you can kind of flip this on, flip it off. Kind of new feature. So we can see here. Sometimes there's, pretty good plays if you look at the games tomorrow. Like, sometimes when Prize Picks an Underdog first release odds for the upcoming day, you can find some decent discrepancies. Jalen Brunson under 32 points plus assists. All books, Prize Picks have his line at 31.5. Not a huge difference. Like, you got to remember, one run in an MLB game, for example, like 6 runs versus 7 runs, that's a pretty big jump, right? 6 versus 7 in an MLB total. And that's more impactful than 1 point in an NBA game, right? Like, or 1 goal in hockey is a bigger deal than 1 point in an NBA game. Like, the over 218, So, for example, if we look at the jump from, 3.5 to 4.5 assists for Jaylen Brown, his under 4.5, right, it moves from minus 270 to minus 114. So 160-cent jump for one assist, right? Because one assist is very impactful. Whereas if you just look at 1 point in an NBA game, so if we go over to like popular and then you go to where's the alternate total points. So you can see here, it's like, okay, like 1 point in an NBA game, like 218 half versus 219 half, there's only a 12-cent jump, right? Just 1 point's not as impactful. So these line discrepancies, like, ideally you can find them for 1.5 versus 2.5, 4.5 versus 5.5, as opposed to like, 200 versus 200.5. I mean, it's still always great to find value in the market, but like 1 point in an NBA game is just less impactful than one assist for Brunson or for Jaylen Brown. So don't see much right now. So, here we go. Caldwell Pope over 9.5 points for the Nuggets game. So here's my 3 picks, right? We have this Gourdet guy under 2 shots. And if you want to bet it, go ahead and bet it because they may have me flagged. We have Brown under 4.0 assists, which I think is good. So Brown under 4 assists, Gourdet under 2 shots, Caldwell Pope. Did we want his over? Yeah, we wanted his over 9.5 points. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it in. That'll be live back before the game. I'm just a little hungry. So I'm going to lock this in. Pope over 9.5 points, Gourdet under 2 shots, Brown under 4 assists. If you want to go ahead and, tail it, that's what I'm ending up going with. Finding value in the market. I mean, play on, what's his name? Jaylen Brown is definitely the best. You can get this on parlay play too. But I mean, all the books have the line at 3.5 without much juice. 3.5 to 4 is a pretty big jump, right? So this is the first play that I'm going with on Underdog Fantasy. But I'll go ahead. I'll lock it in. And then we'll call this live stream for now. I'm sure I'll be back online later. Feel free to email me, alex@oddjam.com, with any questions and stuff like that. But I'll be back here in a bit.